Hello everyone, this is Tony from 80 Star Basketball Channel. We're going to go over some auction recaps and previews in addition to answering a listener question. So let's jump right into it. If we go to the question first, thank you, Win Big 23, for your question regarding the $312,000 SCP auction sale, which that lot was a 1984 star 101 Michael Jordan signed, and he wanted to get our opinion on that card versus a similar sold at Heritage and another one at Goldin. So if we look at the SCP auction, this ended November 23rd, $312,000. It was graded a BGS 8.5. It's a nice card, especially when you look at the top half of it. Depending on your preference for Jordan signatures, it could vary. It's very subjective, much like card condition. Um, Personally, I like this card. The centering is nice. It has the grades on the back, so I believe it's an older flip. 8 centering, 8.5 corners, 9 edges, and 9 surface. Uh, the two bottom corners do have some white showing, so I don't think this is a near mint to mint plus. Maybe closer to a 7 if crossed over to PSA, but I think you're buying this card, or whoever bought the card, I should say, not so much for the crossover potential, but it's to have a Star 101 MJ, and more specifically signed. It's a nice card. They graded it a 9 autograph. I could probably guess because it's blue ink, Sharpie to be specific, and how the autograph is. It's uh, it's a nice card, nice autograph. If $312,000 though. Now let's compare it to the Flight School authenticated card that was done in 2016. This one was a BGS 8.5, different style autograph of Michael Jordan. I think it's a different era too, but I'm not an expert in this area. If you ask me about mantle autographs and other players, I would be able to have a stronger opinion on this. Um, this is also a nice card. It does have a little bit of corner wear, but it's a very nice 8.5. This sold for 196,000. Then we have the one at Heritage. This sold for 120,000 on December 5th. This card clearly has more wear to it. BGS created this a 10 autograph, which if you look at this one and you compare it to the SCP one, I don't know how this one got a 9 and this one got a 10 auto, but that's for a different story. I was looking at other signed cards too, and I found this one from November 2nd. I'll open up the link here. This is from Goldin also, and this one went for 67,100. This card of all four that we're going over now, this has the most wear, but the autograph is also a fat Sharpie instead of a thin one, or I should say a thinner one. They're all four nice cards. I guess it comes down to budget, 67,000 versus 312,000 versus this one was 196,000 and then the Heritage one was 120,000. So I guess do you want the card number one? Do you want it autographed? But you can't go wrong with any of these cards. But the SCP one was clearly the better card of the four. So thank you for your listener question, WinBig23. If anyone has further questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and Ryan or myself will get back to you. So going into the cards now, we're going to switch it up a little bit and start with the 85 star 202, which is Charles Barkley. Since we last spoke, there was one sale. It was a PSA 5 on eBay, sold on December 15th for $581. Not too many of these sales out there for this grade, but if you want to get into a Barkley True Rookie, this is it's a inexpensive way to get into it. I won't bring it up to show it, but if you have Car Ladder or VCP, you can take a look at all the values and see how much you're going for. And the Barkley comes up quite a bit. For auctions upcoming, tonight we actually have an PSA 7 on eBay that's currently at $1,035. There's a BGS 8.5, $100 more than the eBay one that ends in 3 days, 23 days and 23 hours, so essentially 4 days. And then 4 days, 32 minutes, we have a PSA 6 ending on eBay. So 3 eBay Barclays. Take a look at those if you're interested and let me know your thoughts. Hakeem Olajuwon. Since last week, we had 2 sales. If I go back 8 days, we have 3 sales. PSA 7 went for $1,009. I actually put a bid on this, couple bids, but I got distracted with work and stuff around the house, and I forgot to track it. And this card got away from me. I do want to talk about this card, though. Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the greatest centers ever to play the game, and this is, as we discussed in the past, is arguably one of the hardest centered cards to find in any decade, let alone, in the 1980s, let alone any decade. Yeah, this is a little bit top border heavy, but when it comes to left to right centering for this specific card where it was placed on the uncut sheet, this is pretty darn good. This is as close to perfect centering, if you can believe it, on this specific card, unless you go up to a PSA 9. There are very few 8s and 7 that have a little bit better centering than this, but they're going to have other wear. But if you get a chance, take a look at that PSA 9, and you'll see what a centered Olajuwon looks like. So this sold for $1,900. I think this is a nice buy. Olajuwon, like other cards in the months of November, December, and January, they are a little bit on the decline. A lot of extra spending money is going towards other things, holiday gifts, kids, bills, traveling. So not just cards, but I would have bought this card at $1,900, and this would have been my 4th Olajuwon. Would have moved some of the other ones I have, but this is a real nice one. There was also a PSA 7 that sold for $906. So let's take a look, since we have 2 7s. So this is the eBay 7 that we just talked about, and this is the one from Fanatics. And you could tell this also has decent centering for this card, better top to bottom centering than the other one. Left to right, I like the previous one a little bit better, but comparable prices. So for upcoming Olajuwons, there's only one that ends tomorrow. It's a BGS 7.5. It's a buy it now, I believe. And with this, starting bid of $1,300. We went over this last week. So yeah, they gotta adjust the starting price for this, in my opinion, for it to get a little bit more action. Going into the 101 MGs, we had one sale in the last week. This was a PSA 7 on December 15th. It sold for $38,400 at Sunday's Fanatics, PWCC previously. And I was tracking this card. This is a nice one, nice top to bottom. We went over the preview last week. The back was nice too. A little bit thin border to our left, but that's expected. I like the top to bottom centering, not too much of a tilt. It's a clean card. That's why it sold for $38,400. Going to upcoming listings, we have 4. We have a 7.5 BGS, a BGS 7. We have a PSA 6, and then we have the slot. The PSA 7.5 at PWCC, a little bit of top heavy. I think it's not going to sell, in my opinion. It's going to be interesting to see where this 6 ends with this 7 and 7.5. I do want to take a look at this 6. Better than average corners. The main knock on this card is the top to bottom centering. Even left to right is pretty good for this card. So it's border heavy, and as we know, we believe that's how Star designed it, but it's graded differently by PSA. This is another interesting auction here. So I'll bring this up too. This is on Goldin. And this ends on Saturday, September 28th. So it's 10 days from now. We have a lot of time, but it's currently at $57,888. So you are getting the entire set. You're getting a 7.5 PSA Star 101 MJ. Definitely take a look at this set. It seems all the non-Bulls bags, 23 out of 24 bags, are still sealed. Going on to the 195 MJ, we had a total of 2 sales since we last spoke. BGS 7 went for $3,120 at Fanatics Collect. There was also an eBay sale, which was a PSA 7 on December 12th. Went for $58.50. There was some conversations about this card on the Facebook group that most of us belong to. And let's take a quick look at these cards here. So the 7, typical top to border heavy here. So top to bottom centering has the typical, what we're accustomed to. Then the right to left centering, you see this right edge here, border, extremely thin. That's why I went for $3,120. If you compare it to the PSA 7, similar centering left to right as the previous card. Top to bottom centering is nice, but I'm not a fan of this tilt. So I know a few folks were knocking this card due to the selling price. But yeah, these cards have been retreating a little bit. But this particular example, it's not looking like anything that sold for $7,000, $8,000. This is a PSA 7, sharp corners, but it has centering issues. Upcoming auctions for this card, we have one. So unlike previous weeks where we had quite a few of these, just one currently. This ends in nearly 3 days from now. Currently, it's at 7,920. It's a PSA 7, so you can take a look at that on eBay when you get a chance. Moving on to the Star 288. We had quite a few sales on this one. So it looks like in terms of activity, this one switched place with the 195 MJ. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we had about 9 sales rounded. Let's just say 10 rounded. Up, we have a PSA 6, 5,040, BGS 8. We had a BGS 8, which the seller conveniently added 8.5 into the title to get a few more looks. So the BGS 8 went for 77.2. Then this 8 went for 9. So definitely on the higher end. We'll take a look at that. Then we had a BGS 7.5 with high subs. Best offer was accepted. Went for $37.50. Then we had a PSA 1, which was a nice way to get into the card if you can't afford a higher one, $1,525. and the BGS 7.5 went for $58.50. And we had a PSA 7 that went for $16,000. I want to look at the PSA 7 and compare that to the BGS. Compare that to the 5. So let's see. eBay brought up the it doesn't go right to the listing that it should. So let's take a quick look at these manually on here. So I'll look at the card this way. So this one has above average centering, left to right. We're used to this border. I think top to bottom centering is quite nice. Edge wear is typical of this card. This is why it sold for $9,000. Maybe someone thought it had crossover potential, or the 8.5 auction title might have helped a little bit. And then let's compare that to the December 12th sale that went for $16,100. White background. Wish they would have put this against a darker background. This is going to be hard to see because eBay doesn't take me always to the closed listing. Centering, typical left to right. Top to bottom centering is definitely nice. 16,100. It'll be interesting to see if this one gets relisted, but it's a confirmed sale. Moving on to the 288 future auctions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 upcoming. One ends in less than a day. We have 2 days left in this one. 1 day, 52 minutes, 3 days and 10 days. This is part of the same auction that for the bag, 23 out of 24 bags. PSA 3, PSA 6, and a BGS 6, all eBay sales. So follow those when you have the opportunity. This is your auction roundup. Feel free, again, if you have any feedback, comments, questions, reach out to Ryan and myself.